our next topic, PETA has had some interesting things going on.
Oh, PETA.
Yes, and they would like to... They've gone on because tomorrow is Groundhog Day. Now, is it? Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It is.
Yes, it is. It's February 2nd.
I have a whole day of watching the movie, all ready to go.
Yes, I had a class in theater with the girl that gets kicked out of her piano lesson.
Really?
Yes, in the movie. So when you watch that tomorrow, I had a class with her. Now, anyways, they would like to turn Punxsutawney Phil, the very famous groundhog, which is removed every year, whether or not to see a shadow, into a robot. Because they've decided that Punxsutawney Phil's treatment is technically inhumane. And what are your guys' first reactions to this? Is PETA going too far?
I'll let Marcus take care of this.
3 words. Shove it, PETA. I'm so tired of them. How is that inhumane? He sees his shadow, he goes back in. He doesn't see his shadow, he stays out. Ooh, bright lights, people taking pictures. That is so horrible. I'm sure he gets a bunch of good food out of it too. I'm sure he's treated very well.
There was a quote by either the mayor or someone saying that this groundhog gets treated better than most children.
Exactly. I mean, it's like the city's prized asset.
I was just saying he's the center of their tourism. I don't really think they're going to mistreat him.
Yeah,
I think that he's going to be okay. Do you think that? But now, do you think attacking institutions? Because Phil really is an institution. There's an entire day built around this thing, this little animal coming out. Now, do you think that helps or hurts PETA's message?
I would say it hurts because now they're just getting ridiculous.
I would agree.
Everyone knows that. Well, it's a groundhog, and it's ridiculous.
I mean, it's one thing to attack, like people like Michael Vick who mistreat dogs, and these general things for people that like farmers mistreat their pigs and their cows. But when you attack an institution that's just one specific animal, like not one specific species, but one specific animal. You're just trying to get your name in the news,
especially when it's treated very well.
Yeah, and I mean it's not like anything's happening. It's not like they're cutting him up for food or they're making him run a freaking marathon. I mean he's poking his head out of his hole. I mean seriously.
No, so you think there is such a thing as negative notoriety when it comes to political groups like this?
Anything with the letters PETA in it is negative. It's negative press. I don't care how many emails I get. I do not like them.
Every once in a while, though, they do actually.
I know, but like 90% of what they do is just crazy.
Well, I agree that it ends up. It definitely makes you take them less seriously.
I honestly think of them as a laughingstock. If there's any PETA fans out there or PETA members, I apologize. I don't mean to insult you.
Well, I mean, how would I don't even think they have. Who has a robotic groundhog?
Yeah, exactly.
And if does he not come out because he sees a shadow, or did he not come out because it rained the night before and it rusted? So
who's going to pay for it? I mean,
would they have the technology to sense if he can see his shadow or not?
Let's not. All right, we're not going to pretend that he's actually seeing a shadow. And
I mean, who's gonna do that? I mean, where's the money going to come to build the dang thing?
I don't know.
It's just
stimulus package.
It's shovel ready.
Yes. All right. For our last topic, China has threatening to suspend military exchanges with the U.S. military over the United States' agreement to sell Taiwan more military weapons. Military weapons.
$6.4 billion worth of weapons.
Yes. Now, hold on. What was the question here?
Should we be selling them to Taiwan?
With our relations with China being so rocky with Taiwan.
Well, then, you've asked yourselves that question.
Yes, I think they should. I just don't like China. I'm gonna be biased this last 15 minutes.
So you would say their allegations are correct, and it's a Cold War mentality.
I don't think it's a Cold War mentality.
Just kind of.
I think it's a fact that we're broke, and $6.4 billion would certainly help with the war effort.
Yeah, but China's the one who's buying all of our debt up.
Yeah, I know. That's why you have to be careful. I was gonna mention that you have to be careful. We can't tick them off too much.
Well, we don't necessarily, as absurd as this sounds, identify Taiwan as a government. We don't really we identify them, but we don't identify them as a nation because they are not in the UN and certain things like that. Because we exchanged Taipei for Beijing back in 1974. Whenever the opening of China occurred, we agreed that Taipei no longer exists and that it is now Beijing.
Well, doesn't the U.S. and NATO recognize Taiwan, just not the UN?
Someone does, but I know the UN does not, because that's how China is in it.
Okay.
So I would say my argument would be that because we have all these agreements and we have a very strong alliance with Taiwan, that we are obligated to do it, and we need the money. There are a few things that the United States exports, and sadly, one of them is weapons.
It's because we're awesome.
I would say our relations with China is too rocky, and we shouldn't sell weapons to them.
Well, they should get their hackers to stop hacking our CIA and U.S. corporations.
Yeah.
And then I'll be a little bit more polite.
Well, I mean, what they always talk about in like Congress, they talk about the power of the purse. You know, Congress controls purse strings for all U.S. programs. China's kind of like that with the U.S. government. They hold so much of our debt that we really have to be very, very careful what we do.
Because they can't call it in. If they call it in, the U.S. dollar's worthless, and then so is all of those products that we buy from them, and everything falls apart.
And then we go to war just to get rid of our debt.
But they can also stop buying the bonds.
I don't know about that, but we're certainly there's certainly a lot of problems, but I would, right now, as absurd as this sounds, it is mutually assured destruction. I'm not really that concerned.
Right, but my worry is not that they won't pay back. It's the worry that they'll stop buying the bonds.
That's a definite, yes, that's a definite risk. And Japan is having problems.
Especially
on top of every government. I mean, every government's having fiscal problems.
Yeah, I mean, Greece is trying to sell $6.9 billion worth of their bonds to China. I mean, China can only buy so much.
It's a very fair argument.
I don't know. I would just like to say we got to be wary about it, but I think we should do it.
All right. Well, if you guys have any opinions on this, please become a fan on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter or email us any sort of opinion at informavoresradio@gmail.com. And if you have something you want us to talk about, please go ahead and send it to us. We'd love to hear from you. And we especially want to hear opposing opinions. And we'll go ahead and read them on the air and address them at the end of each show whenever we get one. So please follow us. Thanks for listening.